Where do you think you're going? You do know that it's a Sunday, right? I don't have class, and neither do you, so there is absolutely no reason that we should be getting up this early. Errands. So you're telling me your excuse is you have to go and do errands. So you'd rather go out and do God knows what you have to do, rather than spending time with your favorite girlfriend? Uh-huh. Well, if it would make you feel better, I promise that we can do them as soon as we get out of bed. No guarantees on how long that'll be, but... Good. You know, it makes me really happy that I get to lie with you like this all the time. And especially after getting my new place. No more roommate walking on us like last time. That was hilarious. For me, at least. I know you were pretty shy about it. I know. I said I wouldn't bring it up. Sorry. And I'm also sorry that you couldn't come over last Thursday. I was just really sick, and you know how miserable I get when I'm sick. And something truly terrible happened that day, too. Basically, I was heating up a pizza pocket, right? You know, the deluxe flavor as I usually do. And I put it for probably longer than I should have in the microwave. Like, instead of a minute and a half on both sides, I was doing maybe 2.5. Really daring, I know. So when I took it out, sauce was spilling out from all the sides. It was steaming. It was clearly very hot. But I decided to take a full bite out of it, and lo and behold, excruciating pain. The sauce had spilled out over my entire tongue. Spat it out as fast as I could, but by that point the damage had already been done. Legitimately, I was crying and screaming. It was horrible. You wouldn't have wanted to see it. I promise you. Yeah, that was my Thursday. But that's enough about me. How have you been doing recently? You aced that test? See, I knew you could do it. Even though you did only study for an hour or two at most. Yeah, I know it was my fault. I did keep you up quite late that night, didn't I? Okay, well, you can't say you didn't enjoy it, so who's really to blame? Anyways, has anything else interesting happened? Not that you can think of. Okay. How about I tell you a story then? Maybe one from my childhood? I was a really stupid kid, as you probably know. Um, hmm. There was this one time I was probably around maybe 10 or 11. Like by then I was kind of, middle child age, Basically, I was super obsessed with playing like princesses and dress up. I know, I don't seem like the type, right? But I definitely was. And I had been reading like a lot of books and watching a lot of stories that were like, oh, damsel in distress, and then Prince Charming comes and saves her, right? So I was just like, huh, I could do that. That sounds wonderful. That sounds like a great evening, right? So basically, I dress up in my nicest dress in like a pretty, like, I want to say it was like a white dress with nice green like flowers on it, and had this nice like little string where you can tie the waist in, right? So I came up with a bright idea of grabbing the strings and tying it to like the curtain rod not curtain rod, like, it was like one that goes vertically instead of horizontally. So I tied myself to that, and I fucking double knotted that shit. Like, it was not coming out. And especially not for a fucking 10-year-old who doesn't know how to untie knots. So, like, I tied myself to it, and I was stuck. I was not coming out. And basically, I did it at a time where no one was home. So the first 10 minutes were great. The first 10 minutes, I was the happiest I had, like, ever been at that time. So I was just, like, tied up standing. I was like, oh, Prince Charming. Oh, is there anyone to come and save me? There was no one to come and save you. So basically, I had to wait there, standing, because I don't know, the range of motion wasn't very good, as you can imagine. So I just had to stand there for like half an hour, upwards of half an hour, like 45 minutes. I had to stay there until my mom eventually came home. By that time, I was a sobbing mess. I was distraught, as you can imagine, because it was like, what, isn't that like an actual torture method? To have, like, I don't know, inmates or something, like, just stand up for long periods of time. I had to go through that at 10 years old. When my mom came home, she was like, what have you gotten yourself into? What, why? Right? Just a genuine confusion, right? And I really, really don't blame her. And the thing is, when she did eventually manage to, no, I don't think she even untied the knot. She just had to grab a pair of scissors and cut me out in my goddamn dress. I was devastated about that, by the way. That was my favorite. I had to throw it out after. I wasn't happy, to say the least. But even after she did cut me out, she wasn't mad at me. She was just like, don't use your brain next time, please. Which is honestly really fair enough. Like, I already got punished enough for my own actions. Like, I think I got the message. Yeah. You wanna hear more? Okay. How about this time I tell you not of something stupid I did? Because there's only so much I can share in one sitting without, like, cringing myself to death. There was this one time I want to say I was a little older. I was in maybe 6th grade, or is that younger? Fuck if I know. But I was in 6th grade. We were in class, and basically we were doing this sort of activity, like, you just gather around in a circle and you just state, like, something that you do in your free time, like something that you enjoy doing. Like, for example, oh, I like playing video games, or I like cooking, whatever you wanted to say, right? So basically we were just going around in a circle, and I was racking my brain for things that I wanted to say, because, like, I didn't want to go ahead and say, like, oh, I like playing with my dolls, because I still did that at that time, and you want to be cool for your classmates, So I was racking my brain for the coolest answer I could possibly say. So I think I was like the last to go. I was like, we were saving the best for last. I was brewing. I was a brewing for those like 5 minutes. Basically everyone's saying things like, oh, hockey, because, like, they would do that at that time. I don't know, soccer, watching TV, watching Télé Français, whatever, whatever they wanted to say, right? Basically, my turn comes, and you know what I say? I say fucking Netflix and chill. Yeah, no, I'm 100% serious. And honestly, it was around that time that it was really popular and everyone was saying it, and I don't think I even fully knew what it meant. Like, I knew that it was a kind of like taboo thing that, like, little kids aren't supposed to do. So I was just like, oh, I guess it means like watching Netflix. I like to watch Netflix. I like to watch Netflix. I like to watch my little fucking H2O, just add water, that shit. That I had that on a repeat. I watched that series, rewatched it maybe like 4 times. That was my shit. So I was just like Netflix and chill. And then like the change of everyone's emotions around the room, because they definitely knew what it meant more than I did. So they were just like, I was like, what the fuck? And my teacher just looked at me, like seeing everyone's reactions, and she was like, what does that mean? Because she was like middle-aged, probably 30 to 40. So if I'm being real, she and I were probably on the same boat, like of knowing what that meant. And then like nothing really came of it. She just kind of let it go, knowing that we don't know what it means, but it probably wasn't good. So let's just not push any further on it, right? So and then after class, all my classmates were coming up to me and they were like, "Do you know what that means? That is not something to say in class." I was just like, "Oh, okay, I won't say it again." Yeah, no, I didn't get punished for it or anything. I'm just glad that I didn't have like a younger teacher for that class, because then I would have been cooked. I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't the brightest as a kid, but at least I have some funny stories out of it, right? You want one more? Haven't you already had enough of me making fun of myself repeatedly? Okay, I suppose I could do just one more, but this one is not going to be embarrassing, alright? You've already got 2 today. So, basically, this is less of a story and more like a pastime of mine that was just kind of significant in my life. So basically, in the story, I was, I think, 13 or 14. It was like the summer before I went off to high school. And so basically, I was moving houses, right? So before this point, I would hang out with my friends all the fucking time. Every night, we would be like playing and shit together, whatever 13 or 14-year-olds do. And basically, like the second they got wind of the info that I was moving, they did not want to hang out anymore. I guess their mindset was like, she's leaving, and so we're going to like lose all attachment and shit and just start hanging out with literally anyone else possible. So that wasn't great. I was like, I need to like become cool and edgy and alone. I was like, what else can you really do? I was a kid. Basically, there was this forest that my house was like opposite of. So there was this like huge like clearing that led into a forest with like a little river, like a little ravine that was kind of like dead center of the forest. And basically, I would have my little playlist. It was all like fucking indie shit. Like I'm talking fucking Lock It. What's that song? Da, 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 da. That shit was on repeat all the time. And I had fucking King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard on that shit. I was banging Fishing for Fishies all the time. And I would just like go down there and just fucking vibe. Fucking sit on the edge of the creek. Did I say river? It was definitely a creek. That shit was not a river. It was like, you know, really just peaceful and calming. And I would sort of sit by the edge, bring my little sketchbook out there and just draw and shit and just vibe out. And then there's this point. I was doing this for like several weeks at this point. And then my older sister is great. She used to be really mean to me, but basically she was just like wondering all this time where I had been going. And then one day she decides to follow me down, right? So she follows me all the way down. She sees me with my little headphones in, just sitting down by the creek, just having a fucking ball of a time. And she comes down and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck is this fucking little kid doing in the middle of a big, big scary forest? And she gives me the lecture of my life. She's like, do you know how fucking dangerous it is to be a little fucking kid and be in the forest on your own? Like, anyone could just, like, come and grab you and shit. And I was like, yeah, but I don't have any friends. I'm just on my own. I'm just trying to have a good time. Can you leave me alone? And shit. Burst into tears. I was trying to have my little rebellious phase. Like, you know how nice that felt to just be free, and she was just fucking bursting my bubble. It was actually really sweet because after that we started like hanging out a lot more together because I think she felt bad, to be honest. It might have just been out of pity that she just started like taking me out to eat and shit. But honestly, I think the rest of that summer was almost as nice as the time I spent on my own. But yeah, that was really, really sweet. It was a great time. Well, I guess if your goal was to wake me up, then you did it. One way to wake me up is definitely to get me to talk about myself. So, I guess while we're up, I could make us some breakfast. You know, those pancakes that you really like? Or whatever you want, really. Or an alternative is we could stay in bed and I could pamper you in a different way. It's up to you, really. Whatever you'd like.